In a decision that is already echoing across Catholic communities and diplomatic halls alike, Pope Leo XIV has taken a step that many did not see coming. Only 1 month into his papacy, he has chosen to continue one of the most debated and controversial policies of his predecessor, Pope Francis. On June 5th, the Vatican quietly appointed Bishop Joseph Lin Yunuin as auxiliary bishop of Fuzhou, a diocese in southeastern China. What might have seemed like a simple clerical update was, in fact, a powerful signal. Less than a week later, on June 11th, Chinese authorities officially recognized the appointment. This may not have made headlines across the globe, but for those following the long and often painful relationship between the Holy See and China, this development spoke volumes. This appointment didn't happen in isolation. It happened under the framework of a still controversial agreement signed in 2018 between the Vatican and the Chinese Communist Party. The deal, initiated by Pope Francis, gave both the Vatican and Beijing a role in the appointment of bishops in China. Some hailed the agreement as a diplomatic breakthrough, a step toward healing the internal divide within the Chinese Catholic Church. Others saw it as a betrayal, a surrender of church autonomy to an authoritarian regime. Now, with Pope Francis no longer at the helm and Pope Leo XIV newly elected, many expected a course correction. Some even hoped for a full reversal. They imagined a more traditional pope who would firmly reject any political interference in spiritual matters. Instead, Leo XIV has chosen continuity. He has decided not only to uphold the agreement, but also to act on it. The appointment of Bishop Joseph Lin Yunuin is not just a personal endorsement. It's a signal that the new pope intends to continue the path laid out by his predecessor. To understand the full weight of this appointment, we need to look back at the complicated and often painful history between the Catholic Church and China. The root of the conflict dates back over 70 years. In 1951, the Chinese Communist Party severed diplomatic ties with the Holy See. Religion was seen by the party not just as superstition, but as a threat to national unity. The fact that the Catholic Church had its highest authority outside China, in Rome, was a major concern. As a result, China created the Chinese Patriotic Catholic Association, CPCA, a government-approved church that recognized no foreign authority, not even the Pope. From that moment, the Catholic Church in China was split in two. On one side stood the official church, approved and monitored by the state. On the other was the underground church, loyal to Rome but forced to operate in secrecy. The underground church faced constant surveillance, harassment, and sometimes even imprisonment, but many of its members held firm, believing that loyalty to the Pope and the Universal Church was worth the price. For the Vatican, bishops are not just administrators. They are spiritual leaders, successors to the apostles, appointed with divine authority through the Pope. Letting a secular government control the appointment of bishops was unthinkable. But for the Chinese government, allowing a foreign power to influence religious leadership was equally unacceptable. This led to decades of stalemate. Bishops appointed by the government had no approval from Rome, while those appointed by the Vatican had no recognition from Beijing. The result was confusion, division, and suffering among millions of Chinese Catholics. Then came Pope Francis. Known for his boldness and willingness to take risks for the sake of dialogue, he initiated quiet negotiations with Beijing. In September 2018, the Vatican and China signed a provisional agreement. The goal was to find common ground, a process that allowed both sides to have a say in bishop appointments. Under the deal, China could propose candidates and the Vatican could approve or reject them. The Pope retained the final say. As part of the agreement, Pope Francis also lifted the excommunications of 7 bishops previously appointed by China without Vatican approval. It was a clear attempt to reconcile and unify the Church in China. The Vatican described the agreement as a pastoral decision, not a political one. The aim was to ensure that Chinese Catholics could have bishops in communion with Rome, even if they were first proposed by the state. But the decision sparked fierce criticism. One of the loudest voices was Cardinal Joseph Zen, the retired bishop of Hong Kong. He and others accused the Vatican of abandoning the underground church. They argued that the deal gave too much power to the Chinese government and compromised the Church's independence. Even after the agreement, reports continued to emerge of church demolitions, surveillance and persecution of underground clergy. Despite these concerns, the deal was renewed in 2020 and again in 2022, each time with little information made public. Critics continued to express frustration, arguing that the situation on the ground had not improved. Some Vatican insiders were reportedly uneasy about the precedent being set. If the Church could negotiate bishop appointments with one government, what would stop others from demanding the same? When Pope Leo XIV was elected in 2025, many believed he would take a more cautious approach. They expected him to re-evaluate, perhaps even abandon, the deal with China. But instead, with his first major appointment, he showed that he intends to stay the course. Bishop Joseph Lin Yunuin's elevation is not just a continuation of a policy, it is a statement about the kind of leadership Pope Leo intends to offer. So who is Bishop Joseph Lin Yunuin, and why is his story so significant? Born on March 12, 1952 in Fuzhou, a city in Fujian province, Lin grew up in a region with a deep Catholic heritage. Despite waves of suppression and political control, the faith remained strong in this part of China. Lin entered seminary in 1979, just as China began to ease its religious restrictions after the Cultural Revolution. He was ordained a priest in 1984, dedicating his life to pastoral service and church governance. Throughout the 1980s and 1990s, Lin served as a parish priest and later took on various administrative roles. He taught in seminary, managed church finances, and acted as an episcopal delegate. These roles were not just about paperwork. They reflected a deep, hands-on involvement in keeping the church alive under difficult circumstances. From 2003 to 2007 and again from 2013 to 2016, he served as diocesan administrator, essentially running the diocese in the absence of a bishop. In 2017, he was secretly consecrated as a bishop in the underground church, a bold move that put him at direct odds with state control. Despite the risks, Lin's situation eventually stabilized. His quiet dedication earned him the trust of the Vatican and a level of tolerance from local Chinese authorities. On June 5, 2025, Pope Leo XIV officially appointed him as Auxiliary Bishop of Fuzhou under the terms of the 2018 agreement. Remarkably, just 6 days later, the Chinese government recognized his appointment. A public installation ceremony was held, and Lin was granted full civil acknowledgement. This sequence, Vatican appointment followed by Chinese approval, was rare and symbolically powerful. In its statement, the Vatican called the appointment a positive outcome of continued dialogue. During the installation ceremony, Bishop Lin pledged to respect Chinese law, promote social harmony, and support the Sinicization of religion, a term used by Chinese officials to describe the adaptation of religion to Chinese culture and politics. That phrase raised eyebrows among some Catholics. It sounded like a compromise, but it also reflects the complex reality Lin faces. He is a man of the church, but he also operates within a system that places strict limits on religious expression. Yet it is exactly this balancing act that makes Bishop Lin such a significant figure. He is trusted by Rome, he is accepted, at least for now, by Beijing. And he is a symbol of what might be possible when the Church seeks dialogue instead of division. For many underground Catholics who have lived without formal recognition or leadership, Lin's appointment offers a rare glimmer of hope. This moment is not just about one bishop or one diocese. It is about the future of the Catholic Church in China. It is about whether unity can be achieved without sacrificing core values. And it is about whether Pope Leo XIV can continue Francis's efforts without losing the trust of those who have paid a heavy price for their faith. Millions of Catholics in China have endured years of hardship for remaining loyal to Rome. They have worshipped in secret, been arrested and seen their churches destroyed. For these faithful, Bishop Lin's appointment represents a recognition of their suffering. It is a small but meaningful step toward healing. At the same time, it opens the door to bigger questions. Will future appointments follow the same path? Will this agreement truly lead to greater unity, or will it deepen divisions? And how will Pope Leo XIV navigate the tensions between pastoral care and political realities?